The sharecropper. Crime, in all its forms and colors, is not something that has emerged recently within human societies, rather, it was born with them, and it emerged from their very womb. Throughout history, crimes have drawn attention, and the fame of certain criminals and incidents has inspired many writers, leading them to create masterful works. Detective novels often stem from real events and cases handled by security agencies, following their threads until the end, sometimes a judicial resolution, sometimes the end of a life. I came to know Chief Commissioner Mr. Abdel Latif Boumash, who provided me with stories he had written based on cases he had dealt with in his capacity as a security official. I based this series on those stories and wrote it for your program Police Files, a series now returning to you in a new, special format. Al-Khams. Hello. Al-Arabi was a Khams, working on the estate of a businessman named Al-Mukhtar in return for 1/5 of the crop. But a storm would soon hit the relationship between the two men. The businessman Al-Mukhtar married his secretary, making her his second wife. He was an elderly man, and his young wife believed she could make Al-Khams Al-Arabi do her bidding. Today, the term Khams is no longer commonly used, and many younger people, even those of the preceding generation, don't know its meaning. But the term was widely used throughout Morocco until at least the mid-1970s. A Khams is a farmer who works in rain-fed agricultural lands in exchange for 1/5 of the harvest. In areas surrounding cities, where orchards were common, there was also the Rub, a farmer who worked for 1/4 of the harvest. In the early 1970s, Al-Arabi bin Mamoun al-Sudi made an agreement with a landowner named Al-Mukhtar al-Shari to work as a Khams on a farm near Tamu, on the road to Arakidia. The landowner would provide seeds, tools, and pesticides, and Al-Arabi would receive 1/5 of the yield. Al-Mukhtar, who lived in Meknes, would visit the estate in the summer with his family. Al-Arabi, with permission, had built a clay house on the edge of the estate where he lived with his wife, whom he brought from a nearby village. Al-Mukhtar, already over 65, underwent a drastic change in his old age. He married a young secretary named Farida al-Zayi, who was 40 years his junior. She gradually isolated him from his first wife and children, and he became utterly submissive to her. Farida, now in her mid-20s, was desperate to have a child to secure her inheritance after Al-Mukhtar's death. She convinced him to build her a villa on land he owned near Al-Hajeb, on the road to Ifrain. Within a year and a half, the luxurious villa was ready. Al-Mukhtar spent his days managing his companies in Meknes and his evenings at the villa. Farida tried everything to help him regain his youth, including alcohol and certain dried fruits, hoping they would lead to pregnancy. She noticed Al-Arabi's strong dedication and suggested he be brought to the villa to take care of the garden. He would work during the week and return to his wife on weekends. Al-Arabi transformed the garden into something beautiful, and Farida started watching him. One July day, she saw him bathing naked in a secluded garden corner. Using a zoom lens from the window, she admired his muscular body and was captivated. From then on, she pursued him, thinking he could give her the child she never had. She used money. Tight clothes, short skirts, nothing worked. One afternoon, she ran towards him half-naked while he was bathing. Startled, he quickly dressed and fled. Raised with strong moral values, he remembered the story of Prophet Yusuf, Joseph, and the wife of the minister. He decided never to return. Farida feared he would tell her husband and concocted a plan to make him look guilty. She insisted on bringing him back and suggested hiring an assistant for him so he could go home every afternoon. But she soon got rid of the assistant. One day, she had a visit from her brother. While Al-Arabi was working in another wing of the villa, she approached him again, semi-nude, offering money. He rebuked her, reminded her of her marriage, gathered his things, and left. While she was away, her brother stole a jewelry box from her room and disappeared. When she realized the jewelry was missing, she decided to accuse Al-Arabi of theft. She called her husband and asked him to report the theft to the police. Before heading to the villa, Al-Mukhtar filed a police report in Al-Hajeb. Meanwhile, Al-Arabi had returned to his house in Tamu, packed his belongings, and disappeared. A warrant was issued. Days later, he was arrested in his village and brought to Al-Hajeb. He denied the theft but refused to explain why he had suddenly left. He kept the truth of Farida's actions to himself. Police searched his house but found no jewelry. Coincidentally, police in Meknes were monitoring jewelry shops due to rising theft reports. One jeweler, suspecting a young man trying to sell valuable items, reported him. That man was Farida's brother. Al-Arabi was cleared of all charges. He considered it a divine victory but never spoke of what had really happened. As he left the station, he saw Farida. She looked as if she wanted to apologize, but he turned his face and walked away.